Hello everybody, AJ Ryzik here, and today got a quick little channel update and let you know what's been going on, what's happening, all that kind of stuff. Sorry I have not put up a post recently, but been pretty busy. Uh, you know, beginning of June, my stepdaughter graduated from high school, so we had all the stuff going on around that kind of stuff. You know, the graduation party, all that kind of stuff. Then first week of June, we headed out for family vacation in Washington, D.C. By the way, if you have never been to Washington, D.C. and you are in the U.S., definitely go and check it out. Not the cheapest place to visit from the standpoint of hotels and food, and parking is insane. But all of visiting all the monuments, we're already paying for it, so you don't have to pay again. Essentially, admission to all of the Smithsonian's are free. Admission to Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, all that kind of stuff. Not going to cost you a dime. Like I said, as taxpayers, we're already paying for it. And there's just tons to see there. I was there for a week, did not have a chance to see it all. Definitely check it out if you got time. You do like we did. We did not stay in downtown DC. We stayed in Arlington, Virginia, and then I got us. I forget what the name of their Metro cards are, but so that we could ride the bus and their subway into Washington DC. And that was definitely the way to go because you didn't have to deal with traffic and parking. Parking is insane there. You will pay out the yin yang for parking. But anyway, great vacation. Loved it. So hey, let's move on to hardware kind of stuff. So about the time that we're leaving for vacation, I bought a new graphics card. It arrived while we were gone. There it is. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti, and we got back, and then I was about to install it, and then I noticed I was having some trouble with the desktop computer. Sometimes it would not post. You would go and hit the power button, and after a second or so, you get that beeping sound, kind of let you know that the firmware checked out, or the firmware checked out the hardware and it's okay. And so I wouldn't get that, and the computer would not boot up. You'd have to go and restart 3-4 times before it would boot. So something was wrong. Sometimes that behavior can be caused by faulty RAM module. Sometimes it's a faulty Wi-Fi card or something like that. And I played around with removing various things and whatnot, and it was none of that. So I was pretty sure that it was the motherboard. So, I'm running the FX 8320 processor. Not a bad processor, but it has been replaced with the Ryzen series. I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the time to check out Ryzen. So, and let me go and pull this up. Actually, first, let me go and shrink me down so I'm out of the way. Let's go to Micro Center. Micro Center, looking at Ryzen. Let's look at just the computer parts and processors. And we've got a Micro Center here in the Cincinnati area, up in Sharonville. So I could drive there and get the parts if I wanted. So looking at this, the Ryzen 7 1700X, currently $219, save $180 off the list price. That is a phenomenal price for that processor. The 1800X, $239.99, $260 off the list price. I mean, that again, unbelievable price for those processors. If you look at the Intel side of things, And there is nothing in Intel stable that is even close to that class of processor for anywhere near that price. So unbelievable deal right now. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I should do the upgrade now. But then I started doing the math. Okay, let's say that I went with the 1700X at roughly $220. I still need a motherboard. And even though they got a deal going where you're going to get $30 off if you get the motherboard for them. I'm probably still looking at maybe $100. Maybe a little less since you're getting that discount and whatnot. So best case scenario, I'm probably looking at $300 for the motherboard and the processor. I'm going to have to get RAM because my current RAM is DDR3. All these boards are DDR4, so I'm looking at 80, 100, maybe even more depending on how much I'm going to spend on RAM. And as I and you don't know when you start working on a project, and this is true whether you're working on a computer or whether you're working on a car or whatever. You start working on something and you find there's some hidden costs because there's something that you weren't planning on repairing or having to fix that you're going to have to do. So I was like, I don't know what other expenses I'm going to have. I already dropped a fair amount of money for this for the graphics card. And I was going to get some of that money back because I put the old graphics card on eBay, got some of my money back. But long story short, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to spend all that money right now. So stayed with the same processor, so I didn't have to change any of that stuff. And I did manage to find on eBay, got a real good deal on an ASRock, and it is the 970A-G/3.1. And one of the cool things, and why part of the reason that I picked out that particular motherboard was that it had an M2 slot in it. So it allowed me, I picked up a small M2 drive. I think I spent around $50 on that. I spent about $50 on the motherboard. So roughly $100 for this little repair that I did. So as far as doing the hardware repairs, really no big deal. But of course, since you're going with a new motherboard and all that, you're going to need to go and reinstall your operating systems. And as a lot of you know, I have been a dual booter for a very long time. And really for the past probably 7-8 years, I essentially used Windows for doing TurboTax, so I could do my taxes each year. And then my kids used Windows for playing their games. So I was going to go and set up the same thing as I had before. Unfortunately, Windows decided to be a major pain in my side. Installed Windows, got it updated, installed Ubuntu 18.04. They're on separate drives and separate partitions in those separate drives. And got everything installed and whatnot. And then when Windows downloaded one of the updates that you have no choice on updating, it won't, it just decides on its own that it's going to update. And it corrupted not only the Windows boot partition, but it did the same thing to the Linux one as well. And I reinstalled a couple of times, kept having the same issue. And the kicker is that I never had that issue previously when I had the old motherboard installed. Now, part of it may have been, and I'm not 100% sure, but one possibility, when I installed this time, I did a UEFI install as opposed to a legacy install, and that may be why Windows was able to corrupt the Linux boot. Maybe, don't know, not sure, but it doesn't matter now because I got rid of Windows. I'm 100% on Linux now. After I went through the whole install and all that a couple of times, I said to my middle son, I am ready to just jettison Windows because it's such a pain. Um, and he said to me that all of his games they can run on either platform, so he really didn't care. So I pretty much took that as my ticket uh, to ditch Windows, and so that's where we're at now. Um, I'm running Ubuntu 1804. The theming that I am using is the Pop OS theming. Um, I made a second login for the kids so that they can get on that. They can get on over there. I don't have to worry about them accidentally erasing one of my files or anything like that. And it's been running good ever since. Um, no software issues since then, and I really can't say that I miss Windows. Oh, like I said, I was only using it for doing my taxes once a year. So come tax season, we'll see what I end up doing. Maybe I do that online version of TurboTax, or I finally bite the bullet and take everything to a one of the services out there, H&R Block or something like that. Anyway, so that's the state of the computer and all that kind of stuff. Stuff that I'm working on. I'm going to do a video looking at the time. I'm not sure if I'll get it done this afternoon, but for those of you that are using either GNOME or one of the derivatives like Cinnamon or Mate on your file manager, you got these pre-installed bookmarks, I guess you could call them, that you can't just go and delete the bookmark because they show right back up. And it never made sense to me that you got these bookmarks down here that you made, and then these up here that are pre-installed. Long story short, I'll do a quick video showing you how to get around all that. And just kind of note to GNOME developers, why did you have to make this so difficult? I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to go and all these bookmarks that you got pre-installed right here that I can't right click that and it just being able to remove it. Can't do it. Won't let you do it. I can do it down here on the ones that I installed. I cannot see a good reason for not being able to do that. But anyway, I'll show you how to get into the text files and fix that. So we got that going on. Other thing, I've gotten back to working on my creative writing. A lot of you, whether you know or don't know, I produced one book. It was political fiction back in 2012. I did an ebook short. When did that go? Was it 2016 or 2015? I can't remember which. And I kind of had writer's block for a while. But anyway, got back into my writing. And I have been moving all of my writing. I was using the program Scrivener, which is a good writing program for creative writers. But I've been moving to Emacs. And I've been moving to Emacs for a lot of stuff. But I think it's really going to be really good for the writing process. So let me open up Emacs. For those of you that have seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, you'll recognize that little image right there. And I've kind of customized my opening screen here. But go and open up. And this is in org mode. So I've got my own little definitions for to-dos and not to-dos, that kind of thing. And I'm really liking using this because you can see it's collapsed. It's everything's nice and neat right now. But I can go and expand all these different categories. So like, moving down to the various races that are in this sci-fi novel, we click on that and it lists all of them. And if you go and you go down to these guys right here and hit the tab again, you can see all the notes that I've made on these guys and come up here and collapse. And then for book 1 in the series, I've got it by chapters and go and expand it, collapse it. Same thing with all the chapters. And then later on, when everything's done, you can go and choose what to export. You can export it to a text file. You can export it to HTML, whatever you want to do. So really liking Emacs. Very, and actually, I'll kind of show you down on book 2. That's where what I'm working on right now. And you can see I've got all these statuses that, and I can scroll through the statuses. That's on this first draft right now, but I could change it to final, done. Like I said, really loving Emacs. And I hope to have a tutorial on it eventually, or at least kind of an this is what I've done, that sort of thing. I've actually found a couple of really good video series on Emacs on YouTube, and I've been learning Emacs. I do not have all the shortcuts memorized. There's tons of them. If you're keyboard centric, you'll love Emacs from the standpoint that you can essentially do everything. You don't need a mouse. You can do everything with keyboard shortcuts. On the flip side, there are tons and tons of shortcuts. It'll take you a long time to memorize them all. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. But anyway, that's kind of stuff that's been going on. I've got a few operating systems that I'm looking at right now. I want to do some reviews on. But probably for the rest of the summer, I am not going to do a ton of videos just because I got all kinds of stuff that I want to get done around the house. Working on building a shed in the backyard. Our garage is overflowing, so I need to do something about that. And plenty of yard work. And while the kids are off for the summer, I want to be able to spend some time doing. We're hoping to do some whitewater rafting and some other stuff this summer. So that's kind of where we're at. So as always, thanks for watching. Hope to see you on my next video, and I'll see you then. Bye.